against Souza Campos. And without saying too much, this queen here is not going to live to see the end of the game, if you know what I mean. So, let's get into it. e4, b6, d4, and bishop to b7, threatening this pawn. Bishop to d3, defending it, and e6. This is Owen's defense. Owen's defense is basically a Queen's Indian defense setup against e4. Queen's Indian setup is mainly against e4, c4, so it's slightly different, so you don't have to worry really about this pawn in a Queen's Indian. Whereas in this Owen's defense, you do, but this is considered less good than the Queen's Indian. After e6 we have knight to f3. c5, castle, c takes d4, and knight takes back, knight to e7, knight to c3. Both players are developing their pieces, but you can see that this knight has done 2 moves to develop, whereas Capablanca is gaining a little bit of time in the opening. He only needs to develop in 1 move. We have bishop to e3 and bishop to c5. Queen to h5, developing the queen aggressively on an active square, with maybe some ideas with the queen and bishop line up against this h7 pawn. We have castle. Player with black, Souza Campos, is not scared of this queen move. And we have rook a to d1. Bishop takes knight on d4. Bishop takes back. And this looks a bit like you're trading one of your developed pieces for another developed pieces. But there is knight to c6, gaining 1 tempo right back and sending the bishop back while developing the knight. But Souza Campos gave up the bishop pair. e5, which with a clear idea is to fix this pawn on e4. He does not want to see e5 because that would open the diagonal for this bishop, so he wants to close it. So Capablanca immediately deals with that by playing bishop to c4, placing it on a more active diagonal. Souza Campos plays king to h8, immediately dealing with this pin, so there are no more problems later on in the game. And we have rook to d6. Again, there is a clear idea behind this move, is to fix the weak pawn on d7. d7 is a backwards pawn, so it's a weakness, it's a target for the rest of the game. And you really don't want to allow black at any point to play d5, because that would allow him to get rid of the weakness, and you want to keep the weakness there so you can attack it at some point. So it's a really good idea to control the square in front of the weakness, of the weak pawns, so that they cannot move forward. That's the Russian school of thoughts. Souza Campos plays queen to e7, attacking the rook, and we have rook f to d1, putting some more pressure on the d8 pawn, forcing rook a to d8 to defend the pawn. We have bishop to g5, which is a skewer because the queen and the rook are in the same line, so if the queen moves, you lose the rook. but there is f6. And here, Capablanca did not move his bishop. And you see that f6 is a weakening move, because now this diagonal is a problem. And you also see why king to h8 earlier was not a bad idea, because if king was still on g8, there would not have been g6 and you would be losing some material already. But here, Capablanca doesn't retreat the bishop. Instead, we have queen takes g6, a knight sacrifice. Pawn takes queen, he accepts the sacrifice because there is no direct checkmate. Pawn takes knight, pawn takes bishop would not have been good. That would have given an advantage for white. Now we have rook from d6 to d3, and this is the idea of the sacrifice, is that rook h3 is checkmate, so there is a direct threat, but there are some ways to defend against this. One of them would have been d5, the best move, which actually gives a winning advantage to black, with the idea that if you go rook to h3, king to g8 only move, and now you can just sacrifice the rook for the bishop. You give the exchange back, but because you are a queen up, you don't mind. So rook to d3 would be a bad idea. If bishop takes, you would have bishop to c8, defending the h3 square, so there is no more checkmate. And if knight takes, there is no queen to d7, because if there is rook to h3, you can sacrifice the queen for the rook. And in this position, Capablanca sacrificed his queen for one knight, and black would have been sacrificing the queen for one rook. So black would be one exchange up. So that would be an advantage for black. But black did not play d5. There was also queen to e6, giving the queen back, because if bishop takes, pawn takes, you've just given the queen back for one piece, and it's equal material. And it's a slight advantage for white. But Souza Campos was one queen up, and he wanted to win the game, because when you're a pawn queen, that's what you want to do. So he played rook to f7, because it prevents the bishop. Now if there is rook to h3, king to g8 is possible. And if bishop takes rook, you're very happy to take, because white would be getting rid of their best piece, and just trading more pieces when they are already down in material. That would not be a good move. But we have knight to d5, threatening the queen. Queen to c5, going after the bishop. And now Capablanca uncorks a really nice combination with rook to h3 check, forcing the king on g8. And now there is knight takes f6 check. Now if pawn takes, you will have bishop takes, and this rook is pinned by the bishop, so you cannot take back. And this rook to h8 threat is unstoppable, so it would be checkmate on the next move. Unless you sacrifice your queen, then you would be checkmate on the two moves later, but it's checkmate basically, so you cannot take the knight, you cannot accept the sacrifice. So king to f8 is the only legal move. After which you have rook to h8 check. Again, king to e7 is the only legal move. And here, Capablanca played another brilliant move. knight, because this rook is protected by the knight. So this is the only legal move. And now it's checkmate in 2 moves. If you want, you can pause the video and have a go at it for yourself. If you watch my video from yesterday, you might already have a good idea of what to play. That's maybe a nice little reminder. So, rook takes d7, check, forcing the king onto its only square, king to f8. And now it's rook takes f7, checkmate. The rook is defended by the bishop, and the knight controls g8 and f8. So this is an instance of Vukovic mate, where this time it's the bishop protecting the rook. So it's a very nice game. A game that I discovered, by the way, by doing some research for my Vukovic mate video that was uploaded yesterday. And I thought that this game was too good to be just included in that video. It deserved its own video, because it's a really nice game, really nice queen sacrifice, really nice checkmate in six moves. After this rook h3, with rook to e8, like not an obvious move at all. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And I know that d5 would have given the advantage for black, and that the computer tells us that, but back then in 1927 there were no computers, so this kind of analysis could only be done by humans. So humans would have to, chess players would have to discuss this kind of moves and stuff like that. And since there were no clean, easy way of communicating, they would have to wait a long time to get some answers from people from all around the world to discuss some positions. So they would not probably have known that d5 was a good move, a good defense, because it's not that easy to defend in that position. But on that note, I wish you a good day, a good evening, or even have a good night.